Welcome to Movie Heaven, Movie Hell with me, Simon Aitken, and
I'm Keith Eyles, and we are both independent filmmakers who enjoy discussing movie franchises and associated media. And for this special seasonal Halloween episode, where we're going to obviously dig into the Halloween franchise, we are really pleased to be joined by a new guest to the podcast. We have on the line Alistar Clayton. So welcome to the podcast, Alistar.
Thank you very much for having me. It's total pleasure. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Well, you're very welcome. Now, Alistar, obviously you and I, we met via work. But for the benefit of our listeners out there, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and your aspirations, etc.?
Yeah, sure. I'll try. I'm not very good at talking about myself. I run a production company over at Pinewood Studios, just outside London, with two good friends of mine, Nick and Stu. We make an awful lot of different types of production, but primarily for me, I'm a director. I also do some editing and some cinematography work as well. Aspirationally, I've from a fairly early age wanted to direct, and I've won a small handful of awards doing so, which is nice. But
congrats!
Thank you very much. There, some festivals here and there, and trying to move in the near future into features, and hoping that my first feature is a horror movie, a slasher movie. Probably very heavily inspired by Halloween, but hopefully not copying it in any way.
Well, how appropriate indeed.
Yes, yeah.
Obviously, this is the season, one of the best seasons of the year, the Halloween season. And obviously, the reason we've kind of got you on is, as you said, or as we mentioned, you and I met through work, and I came to visit you at Pinewood, and it was quite funny because I remember the first thing that we kind of sort of immediately got a rapport over was the fact that as I was walking in your office, there was a poster on the wall, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's the Enchantment Under the Sea dance!"
Yeah.
And you loved the fact that I knew what the poster was, and kind of did my my own sort of Michael J. Fox take on it as I passed it. And then of course we started talking about Back to the Future, but of course we've already done an episode on Back to the Future.
Great episode.
But then as I walked into your office, you just had on your wall a row of Michael Myers masks, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're a massive Halloween fan as well." And we got chatting from there, really. So that's kind of what's brought us to this point, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And you were one of the rare guests who didn't go, "Oh, that's creepy. Can I leave now?" Which made me feel very special. Yeah, I do have too many masks, but I'm so proud of them. And yeah, my wife does not allow them in the house, so they are proudly displayed in my office.
Well, that's fair enough. That is, probably the best place for them.
I think so.
If they were at home, you'd probably have trouble sleeping at night.
Yeah. I like them though. They make me feel calm in a weird way.
Well, I mean, using that as a bit of a jumping off point here, then. I mean, we always, when we get a guest on, myself and Simon, these podcasts are often about our experience as individuals, and how things sort of inspired us to become filmmakers, etc. So in terms of your story, what's your connection then with the Halloween franchise? When did you first come across it, and what is it about the franchise that you hold so dear?
Well, I weirdly came at it in a bit of an odd way. I'm 34 years old, and when I was 11 or 12, I hadn't really seen any sort of grown-up horror movies. I used to love being scared as a kid, but like by more age-appropriate movies. Like I love The Witches and Return to Oz and like stuff that was really scary when I was a kid. Ghost story stuff, you know. And when I was around 11 or 12, I was in the States visiting my family there, and they rented the VHS of Scream, which they'd seen a couple of times already, and they were like, "Oh, you've got to see this movie." Like I said, I'd never really seen anything like it, and my parents were slightly concerned about the age, but I was like so desperate not to be left out of the movie night at my cousin's that my mum was like, "I'm not watching that," and my dad went, "Well, I'll watch it, but remember, if you get too scared, son, you can go to bed, you know, and it's fine." And I was gripped by Scream from the opening, because it is just incredible. I love Scream so much. And weirdly, I had nightmares for probably 5 nights, and like really horrible nightmares where Ghostface was killing me, like visceral, horrible nightmares. But at the same time, I became completely obsessed with that movie. And on the same trip, bought the costume, bought a voice changer, bought everything I could get. Like, that was my thing. And then my cousin Chris, who is my parents' age, was sort of saying, "Oh, did you get all the horror movie references in Scream? That they, you know, all the references that are in there?" And I was like, "No, this is like opened up a brand new world for me." And sort of from that point on, I just became very, very obsessive, I guess is the word, over discovering what those references were, where I could find those slasher movies that were referenced, and just got really stuck into them. And weirdly, and this will probably come back later in this discussion, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, was probably, I think, the first Halloween movie that I watched start to finish. And while I recognised its flaws, I was like, that was I think it was just because it was on Channel 5 or something. And I was like, oh, that's one of those Halloween movies that I haven't seen yet. And then I was like, right, well, I've seen that. Didn't seem that great. So I'm going to go back and make sure I watch the rest. And then I never stopped, really. I think what I love about Halloween is just the first film is just so flawless. It's not just like one of my favourite horror movies. It's one of my favourite movies of all time. I can always revisit it and see something that I never really clocked before. I've seen it in the cinema a bunch of times. You get a whole other experience, I think, with getting to see it on a big screen. It's probably the film I own more home video versions of. I think I've got 2 VHS somewhere, 3 versions of it on DVD, maybe 4, 3 Blu-rays. It's ridiculous because they keep releasing it with new stuff, to be fair to me. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I've been buying various Michael Myers masks ever since, as you have witnessed. So yeah, that is the thing. And for me, like, I'm a real completist and a bit of a collector, I think. And I love the franchise as a whole, even though I fully recognise that there are a significant number of movies in that franchise that are not good in any way. But I love the fact that they all exist. Like, each one has a place. Each one has something in it for me that's in my heart. Even the 2 that we don't mention, there's something about them that I will find positive. And I just love the fact that they exist, that 40 years later we've just been given the gift of another one. I just, never stop. I love it.
Wow. You almost sound like my inner monologue, because most of that is the same with me. What about you, Simon? What's been your sort of entry point into the franchise?
Well, the first film I saw was Halloween, so I started off with the original and the best. Yeah. It was in the mid-90s, and I was going for a real horror phase. I believe it was shown on BBC Two, which I taped, and I remember sitting at home watching it and totally enthralled. I think it scared me a little bit, but I mean, it certainly had me on the edge of my seat. It's one of those films where the the tension is really cranked up to that point where he does attack. It's such a relief, you know. And it's, you know, it's such a minimal film at the end of the day. I mean, he only kills like 3 people. You know, and most of the film is him stalking, but it's just so well done. The music's really great, and of course, anybody who knows me knows my ringtone is the Halloween theme.
Great.
Yes, so, indeed.
Yeah, I had that for a while.
Reserved for me, Simon.
No. Everybody gets the Halloween treatment. So, I love the original, and what I did with that copy was I went round to a friend's house and we did like a Halloween all-nighter. I don't know if Sky Movies does this anymore, but back in the 90s they would show back-to-back horror films, and so we did an all-nighter which included Halloween, Evil Dead, The Exorcist 3, and there was another film which I can't remember, but it was that I remember that being a great night because the quality of the films was just, you know, really up there. And it's hard to sort of find films of those equivalency now, you know. It's that weird thing. It's a great time for horror films because there's a lot of them out there and they're, you know, being pushed out more. But quality wise, they're not the same. They don't seem to have the same edge, or they don't seem to get to under your skin so much.
Mm.
But when it comes to the rest of the series, I have to say I get it a lot of it a miss.
I don't know what that means.
Whoops.
If you like.
Back off. Sorry about that. Siri started kicking in. Yeah,
be on the podcast.
Yeah. Even Siri loves Halloween. Yeah.
Wow, that's a first. No, so when it came to the rest of the series, I more or less gave it a miss. I did see, I know BBC Two again showed 1 and 2 back to back, and I watched 2 and I wasn't that impressed at the time. It wasn't great in comparison to Halloween. Having now seen the rest of I mean, I literally over the course of this week I've gone back and filled the gaps in my the filmography of Halloween, the films I hadn't seen. It was quite a few, so I saw Halloween 2 and then I saw Halloween H2O at the cinema.
Yeah.
And you know, I enjoyed that. I gave Resurrection a miss because you know, Buster Rhymes, you know, having a fight with Michael Myers just didn't appeal to me at all.
Chicken fried motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. I watched it this week, and it is kind of funny, but also sort of bad at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, sort of. I didn't go and see the remakes. I skipped the Rob Zombie films because, you know, I heard bad things about it, and I think Rob Zombie's only made one really good film, and that's The Devil's Rejects. I mean, you know, House of a Thousand Corpses, you know, it's a horror film made by a pop promo guy, and it really shows. But The Devil's Rejects, great film, absolutely great film. But the Halloween films I just wasn't interested in. I wasn't interested in knowing where Michael Myers comes from.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then doing a remake in the second half and squeezing it all in. Sort of just to wrap it up a bit, but I did go and see Halloween at a John Carpenter all-nighter with another one of our guests, Clive. And, you know, Halloween was the first film, and it was good to see it on the big screen, but it was annoying that we had arseholes in the screening.
Oh yeah.
This is a problem sometimes with the Prince Charles all-nighters, is that you'll yeah. Well, I mean, I've had friends who went to the Rocky all-nighter and they had the same problems during certain films where you get people who come in just to see that one film and just make it a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really, I mean, I know if I know somebody in the audience told them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because it was making so much noise, because it's not a film where that kind of atmosphere, you know, that drunken atmosphere where you can shout and scream at the, you know.
Yeah, it's not a sing-along.
Not everything's The Room, guys. Yeah, I have a real a love-hate thing with Prince Charles, because I really love the cinema, and I absolutely love, I think they do a great job curating what's on. I love the fact that if you happen to be born after the 70s, quite regularly you can go and see 70s horror movies. Like, that's really a special thing. Yeah. But yeah, I just wish no one else would go. Because like, even I went to see I've been actually I think 3 times to see like the back-to-back Back to the Future trilogy, another total favourite, right? But it's like, it's the audience members who they want to prove to everyone else that they get all the jokes.
Yes.
By sort of just like every little bit of humour in Back to the Future, they're like, ha ha ha, that is funny. And you're like, well, yeah, we all know it's funny, but we don't, like, there's literally no reason to do that laugh. Yeah. Except to prove to everyone else in here that you get film in some way. So yeah, it's
I mean, it was
one.
much worse at the Halloween screening, because there was guys actually taking the piss out of the film.
Ugh.
And that did annoy me, because one of the things that Halloween's always been accused of is being slow.
Yeah.
But that's the point.
Yes, yeah.
It is about that build-up. It's about that tension. And, you know, that is what's lacking from a lot of horror films these days.
Yeah.
Is that sort of build-up.
I think one that was really good at Prince Charles because it started with some people like that. So I went to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it started with people like laughing at the costumes, trying to over egg the jokes. But then that movie gets so intense and so brutal so quickly that in the end, by the end of it, people just was like, "Oh, shut up! I just want to go home." So that was nice to see that they couldn't ruin that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The thing was, though, they only stayed for Halloween, which was the first film, and then the rest of the night was great.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair, you know, just on those sort of Prince Charles cinema screening type things, you know, it does depend on the individuals, but I mean, sometimes the atmosphere can be great at those things. So, you know, it's just the luck of the draw, I think. You know. There's assholes everywhere, unfortunately, but it's just you know, the luck of the draw on that sort of thing, I think. But yeah, I mean, you know, for me, I've sort of told this story before on the podcast, so I'll keep it really brief. But yeah, with the Halloween franchise, which I do have a lot of love and affection for, you know, mine goes back to sort of the home video era in the sort of mid 80s, and my dad one Christmas, I think we had it, he was good enough to allow me to watch Halloween, and we had Halloween and Halloween 2 both on VHS.
Yes,
and we watched them back to back, and obviously I was captivated by Halloween for all of the obvious things that we've already mentioned. I'm sure we'll drill into further. But I was also kind of, you know, this was the first time as a kid I'd seen anything like this. I was kind of blown away with the fact that obviously the end of Halloween, you know, got me big time in terms of, you know, Michael Myers suddenly not being there when he got shot and fell off the balcony. And then the fact that Halloween 2 picked up immediately, you know, blew me away. And I kind of, you know, we're talking about Back to the Future as well.
Yeah.
This is where I kind of liken the two franchises, because obviously, you know, the other film that's the obvious one to do exactly the same sort of thing was Back to the Future 2, picking up immediately where, you know, the first film ended.
Yeah.
So that there's a sort of weird symmetry there between those, and then of course, obviously, at the time as a kid, I hadn't picked up on, you know, the symmetry between one of my other now favorite films of all time, which is of course Psycho. You know, with the fact Jamie Lee Curtis being the daughter of Janet Leigh, but also the whole naming convention with Sam Loomis and you know, that sort of thing. So you know, always had this love for the franchise all the way through. Used to do a lot of all-night marathons with my good friends, which I will give a shout out to Wayne and Gary, two of my good friends in my hometown that also loved these movies, and we used to sort of sit and watch them all and then sort of discuss and analyze them. And you did sort of get a new each decade this franchise has kind of you know, come back in sort of whatever guise. And it's quite funny because you've kind of got almost like 3 strands of continuity and then a sort of reimagining. So you've got the sort of 1, 2 and H2O and Resurrection, and then you've sort of got the 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and then you've now got the one, you know, the 1978 and 2018, and then of course you've got the 2 Rob Zombie films which kind of try and reimagine the whole thing, and then of course you've got Halloween 3 which is completely its own thing. But I think I sort of liken this to, and it's a little bit like you were saying, Al, at the beginning, is even though the quality of these films varies as much as the continuity does, really. But at the same time, I've kind of got, there's something about all of them, even the Rob Zombie ones, which have a resonance with me. And I kind of liken it to, as we've talked about on the podcast a lot, I'm a massive James Bond fan. And, you know, people say about which James Bond films are good and which James Bond films are bad. And obviously there's a lot to choose from. But even if a film in that franchise isn't great, there's always an element of it, whether it's a set piece or a stunt or a gadget or a villain or a Bond girl or something that I like about it, regardless of whether the overall quality of a particular film in that franchise is good. And I think that the same for me kind of applies to Halloween as well. And I think that's where you were coming from, Al, with your comment at the beginning, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you liken it to a quick imitator Friday the 13th franchise, which I also collected obsessively on VHS and have loads of masks from and love all those movies in a certain way as well. It definitely, like, there's at least 4 of those where you can't really remember who was in what, I think, except, you know, Jason Voorhees is in them. But it's like, there's a few of them that really just feel like it is just fodder. And again, there's varying quality within there. I think Friday the 13th 6 is really great. I think 8 is horrendous, but there's good little bits. But I think with Halloween, there's just, each one is really different to the others. And I think that's what maybe makes each one have some merit to it, is that you can find something in there that the director or it was making a decision that was like unique to their version of the story. And I kind of applaud that, maybe from a filmmaker perspective of like, well, no one sets out to make a bad film. You set out to do your best, and like I try and find in each of those the bit where they did something great, perhaps. You
know what I find interesting about this franchise is that especially from 4 onwards, is that they set things up within that film, especially at the end, and then the next film they kind of go off in a different direction with it.
Yeah.
It's so true with 4, 5 and 6, because in 4 it ends with Jamie having, I guess, the spirit of Michael Myers passed on to her, and her killing her her mother.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Oh yeah.
and then you get number 5 where she's only attacked her.
Yeah.
And also she is possessed, but she's able to, take over it. She
didn't like it.
She's able to beat it.
Yeah.
Seems that when you're possessed by the spirit of evil, you can't talk.
Yeah.
But then they set up this whole idea of the man in black.
Yeah.
And listen, I watched this great documentary about these films, and they set the man in black to maybe be like Michael's counterpart or his twin or something like that. His id, or having his soul split into two. Or he was supposed to be very much the flip side to Michael Myers. And then in 6 it turns out to be a cult leader who's older. And also the weird thing with Jamie getting pregnant, and I read stuff, and I didn't see this in the film. It doesn't say this in the film, but a lot of people say that she's actually pregnant with Michael Myers' son.
Well, you say it doesn't say that in the film. It does, but not in the theatrical version.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. It's the producer's cut. I saw the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fair to say with this series that there's A, lots of retconning, and B, lots of different cuts of everything. But I think before we sort of drill into all the films, one of the things maybe should have said at the beginning of the podcast is for any listeners, this is going to be a completely spoilerific analysis of the series, including the new film, including the 2018 Halloween, which obviously was released this month. So yeah, there you go. There's your warning.
Absolutely.
Damn, you're too late now.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, we are for 4, 5, and 6. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's pretty much put the nail in 4, 5, and 6, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny actually, Al, what you were saying about is, owning, multiple copies of this franchise. This is one of those. Well, there are a number of franchises where I've done this, where the amount I've almost paid for the next movie, and the amount of versions of it that I've bought, because I'm so old that I did it originally with the VHS home releases, and then obviously the DVDs and the various DVD versions, and have done so with Blu-ray as well. Haven't quite gone to 4K UHD yet, although I have seen that it's the original film at least has been released that way. But I'm actually quite jealous, Al, because you do have the or singing or dancing Blu-ray edition from the US that at the time I was a struggling freelancer when that was released, and I really couldn't justify, I could barely pay my rent.
Yeah.
So I couldn't justify buying that version, but that version has since been deleted, and that's the one that has not only every extra imaginable, but every different cut of every different film. And yes, I'm quite envious. I'm hoping that when 2018's Halloween gets re-released, they might do like some sort of new super duper improved Blu-ray box set that I might be able to get. But yes, there are indeed a hell of a lot of versions available.
I very much hope, for your sake, that they do bring that back with the new one. But also, I'll be annoyed because I have to find the money to buy that one. Because I'm just the same. Although, because I remember you mentioned that before, and I hadn't realised how scarce that box set is. And it just, to be honest, made me love my wife even more, because she got me it as a gift. So
no,
lucky me. But
yeah, absolutely, lucky you.
Yeah.
Your wife did you a solid, because seriously, you can only get like a sort of second-hand copies online, and they go for about 500 quid. now because they're that rare.
Yeah.
So, but that one's the one that does have the producer's cut of Halloween 6, and is it also a producer's cut of Halloween 2 as well? I think
it's got the TV cuts of Halloween 1 and 2, which were only shown on networks in the States because they needed it to be slightly longer in those TV slots back then. And then, the producer's cut of 6. Funnily enough, I did already have the producer's cut of 6. There was a bootleg going around the internet way before Blu-ray or anything, where someone had managed to source the offline edit of the producer's cut, which was from an old VHS. It had time code on the VHS, and they recut the producer's cut scenes into it, and then were burning DVDs and selling them on eBay. And I'm not condoning any sort of video piracy, obviously, but I felt like if you're not going to release it, guys, I need to see the producer's cut. This guy's helping us out. I'm buying it off him. And as soon as you get your head together and release it, I'll buy that as well. So, I've done my bit for it.
I was going to say, you've bought it a few times. So I think
exactly.
It's fair enough in that particular case.
Yeah.
Well, this was the thing. When I was out in Orlando, I remember seeing this producer's cut around everywhere, and I didn't know anything about Halloween 6 and what happened to it. So maybe you guys can shine a light on what's the whole deal with Halloween 6.
Yeah. Do you want me to shine
you
some
go
lights?
for it.
Yeah?
Yes, go for it. You probably know better than me.
Well, only from kind of watching documentaries over the years, I think there were... Actually, it goes back to what you were saying, Simon, about 4, 5 and 6 and the bizarre ways they sort of went in different directions. Is I think they gave a lot of... The franchise gave a lot of control of the story to whoever the writer and director was on any given film, especially after what happened with Halloween 3. Is they were like, well, let's get these people who seem passionate about it, give them a lot of control by the looks of it. As long as Michael Myers is there and he's not destroyed beyond recognition, so that we can keep bringing him back, you can do what you want. So I think, as far as I'm aware, with 4, they got to the end of that and were like, let's set Jamie up as a potential new killer, so whoever comes along to the next one, that'll be the story, that she's like another killer in the family. And then they brought in the people for Halloween 5, and they went, no, we won't do that. We'll just do something else. And they went, that's fine, you do something else. And then by the time they got to 6, they were like, oh, right, so we've been left with this bizarre, strange, completely unrelated story of this man in a black cloak walking around. And the writer, Daniel Farrens, was tasked with, we've got that, so try and get him in there, but at the same time, like, make your own thing. And he came in and went, oh, okay, I'll try and do this, and came up with the original script, which was then worked over and changed an awful lot. And it was in a period of time when slasher movies were not in a good place whatsoever. I think they were pretty much dead. It was released in 95, so it was like a year before Scream resurrected it. So it was like, this is the terrible time to be trying to keep a slasher franchise alive. But it was like, I think it was the first Dimension Films horror release. So there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen, as it were, as I think, from the word go, from the scripting and everything. So when they finally, Joe Chappelle managed to make the film, the cut that they sort of delivered first off went to, I think, people at Dimension who were not keen on it for a few reasons. It wasn't exciting enough. It was nowhere near gory enough for them. What they wanted, a lot more gore. And they thought the ending was bizarre and didn't work at all. The score, which was quite good at the time, they didn't think was sort of hip enough, so they got it rescored. And I think there was a tale of like kicking the director out of the edit in the end and saying, no, we're taking it this way. So what got released was the theatrical cut. The producer's cut became sort of known as this thing that once existed but wasn't going to work. I also think it was possibly, I might be wrong about this, but it was one of the first films that was used as, they had like test screenings, which like all American movies do now, where they show it to a focus group audience and then get feedback from, you know, just random members of the public, which people still do. So obviously it's making people money somewhere, but I wouldn't necessarily think it's the best way to do it. But it was one of those where I think they got it massively wrong from my opinion, really.
Yeah. Bizarrely, that model, back to you know, where you said about the sort of new writers and directors coming in and sort of able to do it, is where they're kind of going with the Star Wars franchise now. You know, like whereas it used to be, you know, George Lucas's stories, and you know, he yes, he got screenwriters in to help him, but he would have the overall story arc. As we're seeing now, you know, Kathleen Kennedy's given the control to whoever the new director is to basically, you know, rewrite whatever they want, you know, and go their way with it. And you know, obviously there's been divided opinion as to whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just a different thing, I think, isn't it?
Well, and also they're getting the Halloween 6 treatment, because a lot of them are getting their work re-edited and reshot, different directors coming in. So,
well, I think that's the real. You know, I'm not on the inside of it by any means, but like I feel like the real thing, and it happens with I think James Bond as well, is that there is the story, the sort of PR version is we give it over to these visionary writers and directors to come up with something. But then, like you say, Simon, well, not really, because Kathleen Kennedy really is in charge of Star Wars movies and where they go and what they look like and what they how they're written and who's in them. And with Bond, Barbara Broccoli is kind of in that realm. And I imagine that departures of people like Danny Boyle will probably come down to, no, your vision's getting a bit off track here, let's get it back on. Which, like you say, Halloween 6 was suffering from, but I think Halloween 4 and 5, from the sound of it, were much more no, over to you guys, what have you got, you know, give us what you've got. The problem that happened there is, I think Halloween 4 was very popular, did really well, so they went, well, let's milk this, rush Halloween 5 in, get a guy who's never seen any of the Halloween films to put his stamp on it, and then everyone hated Halloween 5, so I guess the reins got pulled back in. So sorry folks out there, I'm afraid everything always comes back to Star Wars and James Bond on this podcast. It seems that's the center of the universe with everything we talk about. I think when you talk about movie franchises, like, you know, they're absolutely like tentpoles of how the franchise system of movie making has worked for 50 years now with James Bond or so. So yeah, it makes sense that they would, despite you just being a massive fanboy. Indeed.
Well, I want to know what you guys think of Halloween 3, because for me, that's my second favourite Halloween film.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I know, obviously Carpenter, you know, was the producer of this, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I think the original idea was, you know, they thought they'd ended the Michael Myers story with Halloween 2, and the idea moving forward was Halloween was going to be an anthology franchise, so you would get a different Halloween movie, you know, every year or every few years or whatever, which would use the Halloween branding, but be a completely separate story, not connected in any way to the Michael Myers character, and you know, which obviously Halloween 3 Season of the Witch was exactly that. But of course, the Michael Myers character himself was so intriguing and people liked it so much, and obviously by this time you were starting to the Friday the 13th franchise, which had sort of followed Halloween, was obviously picking up this sort of steam with Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger had sort of hit the screens as well with the Nightmare on Elm Street. So they kind of then decided to go back to Michael Myers. But yeah, I thought Halloween 3: Season of the Witch is a great film in its own right, even though obviously it's not connected with any of the others. But I mean, have I got that right, Al?
Yes, yeah.
In terms of the backing, yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, from my understanding of it was that they went forward with this and it didn't do very well at the box office, so they went, well, we need to bring Michael Myers back because that did well.
Yeah.
That's what made us the money. You know, and I think that's also...
But we burned him. We blew him up.
Yeah. Well, as we keep finding in this series, that they come up with ingenious ways of him escaping.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
I saw a documentary where one of the writers was saying that he actually wrote a scene where you see Michael Myers sort of escape, out of a hole or something, or I don't know. It's they get around this every time.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they had a bet. They had a safe bet that for any disbelief over the fact that he's come back will soon be swept away because people just want to see him back.
In fact, to be honest, when I first saw, and don't get me wrong, I was massively excited in 1988. Obviously I'd seen the original films as a kid, and then I was getting to see Halloween as a teenager, by that point. And when Return of Michael Myers came, I was really excited and obviously intrigued to see how he was going to return. But the more distracting bit for me at the time, continuity wise, was less about the fact that Michael had survived that and more about the fact that Loomis had survived it with a few minor burns and a slight limp.
Yeah.
And it was like, bloody hell.
Well, if you thought that Michael Myers was indestructible, so is Dr. Loomis.
Yeah.
Because he more or less gets killed off in every film as well.
Yeah,
from
pretty much
4 onwards.
Yeah,
but we love him. We love
Loomis,
and I'm so glad. I mean, I look at it again when you look at the strands. I'm loving the fact, particularly with the new film now. Jamie Lee and Donald Pleasance have done a even amount of films now, and I kind of love the fact that we've got. One strand is the Sam Loomis adventure, and then the other strand is the Laurie Strode one. And I think, for different reasons, they're both amazing characters. And I kind of love the fact that we've got, we've almost got the choice of who to follow.
Yeah.
So, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, and I've not read this, but I believe in one of the sort of expanded universe. Because they've had spin-off novels and comics and all sorts of things from this over the years. They did write one where they tried to tie the Loomis continuity in with the H2O continuity.
Oh, right.
Do you know anything about that?
I don't. I'm really, despite having said, I'm a big contradiction, but despite having said I'm a completist that stops where it's not a film.
Oh, yes.
I get really annoyed with. I just get so for some reason, I completely. I applaud the idea of there being graphic novels, and I know of them, but for some reason I've never had any interest in wanting to know about them. So I'm like, no, but it's not in the films, and it's the film. I guess I like film, and I don't read much, so that's just where I stop. So I don't know much about Night Dancer.
I think they tried to sort of again. I might have this completely wrong, but I think basically what they tried to do was. Obviously, shortly after Halloween 2, a couple of years after that, she'd had Jamie Lloyd. She'd had the daughter, and then obviously by the time we get to Halloween 4, there's some sort of explanation about how her mother was killed in a accident or something, and I think they tried to make it that's when she assumed the what's her name? Something Tate
Carrie Tate
in H2O,
Carrie Tate, yeah.
and obviously, you know, fell pregnant again, you know, with the son at that point. But you know, it doesn't really make sense. But I kind of applaud them for trying to make it work.
Well, in my head canon, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
that's how I think.
Yeah, no,
I think of it happened. I think she's just a really bad mum. She deserted her daughter.
Yeah.
You know, so she could take this other life, and it didn't help her because, you know, Michael Myers still, you know, went after her. But after he stopped chasing after his niece, is like, I feel my sister's still around somewhere.
Yeah, get back on that. But of course, the only problem with that is that I don't know how they managed to explain it in the graphic novel, but I think, despite expecting it in H2O, Laurie / Carrie Tate, she suspects he'll come back one day, but I think she would have known through the news that he's been killing people for bloody years in Haddonfield still. Like, she would have heard about it on the grapevine, I think, at some point, and gone, I should probably like look after my daughter a bit more.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, it is a different timeline version or whatever, but you know, I applaud them for trying to link it all up, you know.
And do that as well. I've made peace with the different timelines, and I love H2O, but I do remember when H2O was coming out, I was like, but it doesn't, because it doesn't fit with the other things. Like, at least the others, you know, you could do 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 could do technically work as one story.
Yeah, they do. Although disappointing as some of the, because I remember thinking, like, when I first saw Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, and you had that mysterious character in black that you forementioned, I remember at the time really being intrigued and kind of slightly freaked out by it and thinking, oh my god, this is amazing. But then when we get the reveal in Curse of Michael Myers, I'm like, well, actually that's a bit shit, isn't it?
Yeah. What's Kilroy doing there? Why is Kilroy running about?
And you know, the whole cult thing, and I don't know, I just kind of it's backstory that kind of ruins it. It's a bit like my criticism with the Rob Zombie films, whereas I applaud, you know, on one hand him trying to sort of take it from a different angle and do something different. You know, the fact that he made us root for Michael Myers and hate all of the, in inverted commas, human characters, you know, made me think, well, he's kind of missed the point here. And, you know, I didn't really want an explanation as to Michael's backstory because the mystery was the fun bit, you know.
Yeah. I completely 1,000% agree with you on that. But weirdly, the only thing I like really about the Halloween 2007 remake is the conversations between Loomis and Kid Michael in the kind of almost montage of him growing up while he's in the mental hospital. I think, like, if that hadn't been called Halloween and it was almost like a short film about a psychiatrist talking to a deranged psychopathic child, that would be really good. Like, I think the kid, Dave Furch, is really, I think, if that's how you pronounce his name, is like really, really good in those scenes. He's at once really sweet, but because you know what he's already done, he's terrifying in a weird way. Malcolm McDowell's really good as Loomis in that. But just in those moments.
One, but appalling in the sequel.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, we'll get to the sequel, I guess. But yeah, it's like the weird, like, that's the only bit that I go, that is really good filmmaking. I really appreciate that stuff. It looks cool. It's kind of almost Kubrickian the way it's shot. Some of that, these really interesting sort of psychological discussions where Loomis is trying to get through to him, and all the kind of imagery around him drawing masks because he wants to cover his face and all of this stuff. I actually love all of that, but I just feel like it doesn't belong in a Halloween movie because that's ruined Halloween. But
yes.
if it was just something else, a little bit like Halloween 3, if it wasn't called Halloween in any way, if that was a movie called Evil Irish Man Makes a Mask or something.
I mean, there's your next movie, Al. There you go. That's your next one.
Yeah, Evil Irish Man Makes a Mask, a remake of Season of the Witch.
The thing is, though, I mean, we laugh at Halloween 3, but it is great for the fact that it's the closest thing to a John Carpenter film we have aside from the original Halloween. It looks like a John Carpenter film. It feels like a John Carpenter film. It's not. I know he produced it and he did the music, and I believe he was one of the co-writers. But because he worked with his production designer from the original one in the director's chair, it really has that John Carpenter feel, and that's the thing I love about it. That was what they didn't capture in the second one. Yeah, as much as it starts from the end of the first one, the look of it straight away knocks me out. Even though it's still Dean Cundy who, came to do it. I think he actually he was offered to do Poltergeist.
Yes, yeah,
and he decided to come and do Halloween 2, which.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel was a bit of a mistake for him. He should have done Poltergeist, but
there's of course your other
Back to the Future.
The great Dean Cundy, who deserves massive credit. You know, for as being the DOP on those first two films, and of course
the first three.
The first three, sorry, and of course was psyched when later in his career. He'd end up working with Spielberg on, Jurassic Park, the first one, the only one. Sorry,
but I just want to say about
go on.
Just about Halloween 3 is that the visuals in it are really great. I mean, the montage of all the kids on Halloween going out with the mask is amazing. I know they homaged it in Trick or Treat. You know, and it's that great look. I mean, I love the shot of the kids walking down the hillside at Los Angeles at dusk.
Yeah,
and it's not magic hour. It is like it's that point where it's just gonna go dark. And it's really, there's some beautiful stuff in it. And I mean, I enjoyed the story. The story's fun. The story is kind of like, actually feels like a lot like a latter John Carpenter film. Like Village of the Damned. Not so shit.
Yeah. I was going to say that was your hell.
That was my hell. Yeah. But it has that similar feel, but
I genuinely love Halloween 3.
Definitely a quintessential film for capturing the spirit of Halloween, the Halloween season, just like Trick or Treat was many years later. Yeah. And I've just been lucky enough. Actually, I was over in the States. For Halloween Horror Nights, and two of the mazes that they had. One was Halloween 4: Return of Michael Myers, and the other was Trick or Treat. And and of course they also had Poltergeist. So they had all these. When I say Poltergeist, I mean the original, not the remake. Terrible remake. It's great because you see that, and it is everything that Halloween. The season is about, as far as I'm concerned, and it is absolutely in films like those that I've just mentioned. It captures them. It captures that essence perfectly. And you're absolutely right. Season of the Witch looks great, sounds great. Yes, it's bonkers in places, and of course you can't get that Silver Shamrock song out of your head.
Yes,
but it is still an awesome film, even though it's not connected with Michael Myers.
One bit of trivia, and you probably know this, but the girl in it, she was the second choice to play Rachel in Blade Runner.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah, she was the one that they did the screen tests with. So you remember on the documentary with this,
documentary,
So you
see, it's all connected.
It's all connected. But she does get to play a robot.
Yes, Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would absolutely second. I love Halloween 3 so much. I think it's definitely one of the best of all of them. And it's kind of like almost unfair to compare it because, again, it just shouldn't be in the Halloween series. It would have done it a lot of favours. I think the ending is one of the best horror endings ever.
Oh, yes. It's so nihilistic.
Yeah, it's... like everything about it, like what it says about kind of television, it's like really, it's just great. And actually, I think like cinematography wise, I know you said like 1, 2, and 3. Hats off to Cundy. I don't think 2 has anything on 3 from a cinematography standpoint. There's some good looking stuff in 2, but flat. I find it.
It's weird. Even though it says it's Dean Cundy, it doesn't look like his cinematography. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't look like anything like 1 for a start. And then partly because, unfortunately for them, they've got a whole movie set in a hospital, and you either go really stylistic with the hospital and decide it's not like real life. Or you have to make it look like a hospital would look in 1981, which was pretty much how it looked, pretty dull and flat and lots of overhead sort of sodium lights and whatever. And that's kind of how it looks for the majority of that film. So I just think I always feel like with Halloween 2, it's one of the most boring to look at in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I have such love for it, though. I've got to be honest. I mean, obviously, the way I first experienced it, and at that point, you know, even though I was interested in film, I was too young to really know, you know what who half the film crew roles did, and you know, at the time, probably my eye wasn't as trained enough to notice that. I was more drawn to the similarities rather than the differences.
Yeah,
and obviously Rick Rosenthal, you know, he made it. It was much more of a sort of gory slasher, you know, type. But then again, there were parts where Carpenter stepped in and directed bits as well. And of course, it was during this that he directed the scenes for the TV version, you know, to extend it. And that's of course where we first bring in the idea of the sister. So you know, I think Halloween 2 deserves its place in importance, despite the fact that it's not quite as sophisticated as the first film.
I think like, well, as I say, as being a sort of completist, without one you don't get the next one. So I'm always thrilled that they were made. I just I know because we've spoken, Keith, about how much you love 2, and I do have, like I say, there are loads of bits about it that I really like. But I just find it one of them that I find hard to get through. I've done a few, like, we've had people around for Halloween, or we had people in the office like 10 years ago maybe to watch all the Halloween movies on Halloween. And it's one that I find like immediately people start switching off from Halloween 2. Like people who haven't necessarily seen the series before, everyone always goes, oh yeah, that first one was great, yeah, I kind of saw it before and now I've seen it properly, it's great. And then 2 immediately start to lose people.
Except you don't lose guys when the boil in the bag nurse scene.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah.
Oddly enough, maybe that's why I'm so fond of it.
Speaking of bizarre nudity, the sex scene in Halloween 3 has got to be applauded for, like, what? Who's buying this? She's like 19 years old.
Yeah.
He's this like alcoholic dad, and just at no point throughout have they had any chemistry. And then during this like moment where her dad's gone missing, he's probably dead, they're in this weird town where everything's sinister. She just suddenly goes, where do you think I want to sleep, doctor? And you're like, oh, come on, mate. There's no way that's happening.
And she packed the sexy underwear as well.
Yeah.
But I
yes,
don't
absolutely,
think...
yeah.
Also, what doesn't help is that Tom Atkins at the time had the flu. So he was looking really sweaty.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, hats off to the man.
And a mustache are not a good combination, are they?
You know, hats off to the man for doing that, you know, when he's not well. But
hats off to her for putting up with it.
It's very questionable.
Yeah, it's just
Very
the very awkward sort of like, just get one boob out and just, it was just, oh man, that is enjoyable. But it's Halloween 3, I can't knock it. Halloween 2, yeah, it does. I just don't feel like I can watch it loads and loads of times without just getting a bit bored. It's definitely one where I'll reach for my phone and look at something else for a while.
I mean, I felt the same way when I first saw it. I mean, as I said, I saw it as a double bill on BBC Two, and this week I went back to watch it just to see if if I still felt the same way, and unfortunately I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not long, but it does sort of drag.
Yeah.
I just like the way it finishes the night off, and it kind of does complete that story. I mean, obviously, of course, it gets picked up later and all this sort of thing. But at the time they shot that, they obviously didn't intend on going back there. That was supposed to be the end.
Yeah.
And I did like, I mean, it's got a few continuity issues. From the first one, even though, as I said, it does pick up like literally 30 seconds after the end of the first film.
Yeah.
But I still think, of course, it was made 3 years later, and Jamie Lee's wig aside, it kind of works on the most part, and I always considered it, certainly in my head, as one continual film, like a 3-hour movie as opposed to 2 90-minute movies, and it holds up pretty well. But obviously the first film is much better made.
It's a lot like the sequel to Rogue One, how it picks up at 30 seconds later. But they don't feel quite the same somehow. Yeah.
It is funny that the sequel to Rogue One, where at the end of Rogue One, Darth Vader is very energetic, but in the sequel he doesn't seem to be. I think he's a bit tired. He just
I guess after that fight you would be, wouldn't you? You're relaxed.
I can't have this conversation.
And I don't know, Carrie Fisher just looks different. I can't put my finger on what it is, but in the sequel she's just that little bit. Something's different about her in that sequel. Yes. I can't look at it.
Hey, Jennifer Grey Jennifer Parker changes as well.
Well, she does, yeah.
Nothing's ever perfect.
Exactly. True story.
Even though we love Elizabeth Shue, it's still not, Claudia Wells.
No. Absolutely true.
It's. I'll tell you one other. Talking of all sort of franchise connections, and we've already talked about loosely Back to the Future, the connection, and of course the Psycho connection, and the Friday the 13th connection, and all that. But another thing that I always kind of loved about Michael Myers was it always, in some respects, reminded me of the Terminator as well, in the fact that no matter how much they keep shooting him or stabbing him, he gets up and keeps coming, and that's certainly, in terms of the feeling, I always felt the same about the first Terminator movie from that side of things as well.
Oh yeah, the first Terminator film is a slasher film.
Yeah,
it's definitely a slasher film. I remember when I saw that as like a young teenager, it did, the first time I saw it did scare me. It was a very tense film, especially at the beginning where he's going around hunting Sarah Connor.
Yeah,
because it sets it up like a slasher film. So you have a couple of kills that are very immediate, so this guy's a threat, and then you get the sort of the stalk and kill.
Yeah,
and then you get the chase, and it works really well. It adds some extra elements like the shootout in the police station, which, funnily enough, Halloween then goes and rips off in some sense.
It does. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely.
So they sort of feed on each other.
They do. Again, another franchise where it's only really the first 2 films though that are great, and then
Whoa.
The rest is questionable.
Yeah, but it's funny. Have you guys heard this comparison to the new Halloween, that people are comparing it in some way to Terminator 2?
Yeah,
because of the Sarah Connor being a badass, and
definitely.
obviously Jamie Lee being a badass. Yeah. No, I've heard
being
that,
estranged from her child and trying to set up. There's definitely a big thing going on there.
Yeah.
But also with the Terminator, the first Terminator, in relation to Halloween 3, another link is it's got an ill-advised sex scene at an inappropriate moment for the character.
Yes.
True, but the sex scene in the Terminator has a point.
Yes, it has.
There's no sex
very
scene,
important
there's no
purpose,
John Connor, there's no future resistance, so you've got to have that in there.
And there's no T2.
When me and my mate Chris were watching it one Saturday morning on video, like Saturday, that had to, it's non-stop action and fighting throughout. Yet the scene where my mum comes in with a cup of tea and some Coca-Cola and some biscuits for us is, of course, the sex scene, and it's like, oh no, we're not watching this, honestly. So yes, it was always badly timed.
I remember there was a guy at school who swore that Kyle Reese was John Connor, and that John Connor had gone back in time to pregnate his own mother. I was like, dude, no.
And then become himself.
That's dark. Yes, that's dark.
Circle with the links again.
Oh, there you go. And by the way, that's another film that I've bought so many versions of over the years.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yes.
Right, so I just want to ask this about the character of Michael Myers. So, he is set up really well in the first one, and in some sense in the second film he is carried on. They don't change him at all. But then as we go from 4 onwards, they do then change the character, I feel, quite a bit. They always keep either trying to add to his backstory or the way that he actually kills people. I mean, the one thing he really doesn't do after 1 is much in the way of stalking.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the thing about the first one, is that he stalks Laurie Strode for a long time before they even get to the house.
Yeah.
Then when he is stalking his prey, it does feel like it goes on for quite a while. But then from 2 onwards, the kills are very quick.
Yeah.
When that he's kind of stalking him, he gets there straight away.
Yeah.
he literally is like, well, I just don't have time for this, chasing them. Yeah, and I always found that weird, because they've done that in every sort of film since, and including in some sense the new one.
Sort of. Although it's funny, because I was watching Halloween 5 earlier today, and because I've always felt like that. I was like, oh, you just never get that sense of stalking and the obsessive thing that he has with Laurie from the first ever again. And I would be inclined to agree with you, but I was watching Halloween 5 really closely today because it's one of the ones I know least, because it's so hard to get through. But it occurred to me just that on that point earlier today, actually he does do that. It's just executed in such a worse way. And it's with characters that you don't care about as well. So with Laurie, it's like, that is Laurie's movie from the moment she appears. Jamie Lee Curtis is so good. You love that character. You don't particularly care about her friends that get in the way, but you love her. But I think actually you get to Halloween 4, he's doing that. He's trying to get to Jamie. It's just that because of slasher cinema at the time, being about body count, being about gore, being about kills every certain amount of minutes by that point, which John Carpenter didn't have to do because he was doing exactly what he wanted before they'd invented it. But by this point, like you say, you've got Nightmare on Elm Street movies out already. You've got Friday the 13th is into part 8 already. So with Halloween 4, it's like the stalking thing is still there, but it's with his niece now. But you kind of get sidetracked because he has to kill about 15 other people to get to that point.
Yes.
And then with 5, actually he becomes fixated on Tina. So he watches Tina over and over, like all day on the Halloween day when he's in Haddonfield. There's lots and lots of sequences where Tina is hanging out with her boyfriend or her friend or whatever, and he's standing behind a bush watching her. It's just, as I said, I think it's just done so poorly that it doesn't feel like that's what the film is. It feels like a body count movie, because those are the only bits of sort of actual excitement in those films. And I also think maybe because like characters like Tina are so incessantly annoying, you kind of don't care that she's in potential peril, because you're kind of like, oh, can he just kill someone else so we can get away from her?
Yes, that documentary I saw, the actress was saying that at the first screening she went to with what she saw herself in, that they actually cheered when her character died.
Yeah. Which is not what you want.
5 is certainly an odd duck. I mean, I enjoyed it. But it's the choices in it are kind of weird. I mean, so you've got the comedy cops in it.
Yeah.
And they actually have their own sort of soundtrack where it just sounds like somebody, like a clown playing like the horn, and and like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And you have this really annoying character.
Yeah.
And
and they kill Rachel immediately, despite her being the final girl, which is just like, oh man.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I like about 5 though. I thought it was kind of interesting that they actually put Michael Myers in a different mask, and it still kind of worked. That scene where they're driving and he's wearing that kind of mask, that works really well. It's a nice little
touch. I think, like I say, the 5's got some things about it. But it's definitely pretty rough. We haven't mentioned the mask continuity, which is a big thing in these movies.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's kind of funny when you think that the original mask is a William Shatner mask that they sprayed white, and
it's a link to Star Trek.
There you go.
Yeah, nice.
But then how they could never recreate that properly. I mean, the different masks in the different films,
original again, and no one knows exactly why that happened.
Well, I mean, the story isn't they went down to a hardware store, picked out a couple of masks, resprayed them, and went, that one works.
Well, yeah, but the idea that they couldn't have tracked another one down is weird, definitely. I think I have a slightly different take on the mask continuity thing, is that people get very annoyed about how the mask changes. But I only think there's a problem with the mask changing every so often. And if, like, I'll try and be quick, but I'll go, like, so Halloween 2's mask is the same mask. Yeah. It's just it was kept under Deborah Hill's bed, so it kind of got squished. And Dick Warlock's face is much wider. Yeah. So that's fine. 4, I think 4 is a horrible mask.
Yes.
But it does make sense within the context of Halloween 4, because there is a scene where, I mean, he obviously starts the film in bandages, so he doesn't have his mask while it's been burnt off it.
Exactly. I was going to say, it's not supposed to be the same mask. It shouldn't be the same mask. It's only between 1 and 2
exactly.
It's supposed to be the same mask,
Yeah, so by the time he gets to Haddonfield, and he basically does what he does in Halloween 1, is he goes into a shop and steals a mask, and it just so happens the mask in that shop is shit. That's just a bad shop. He went to the wrong shop. My big continuity problem with masks is between 4 and 5, there is literally a cut where they cut from the footage from 4, where he falls down the pit where he's been shot, and then he ends up in the river, and that is exact continuity, and the mask changes so much between those two. You're like, why has that happened? And as far as I know, or as far as I'm aware, it's because, as I kind of alluded to before, the director of 5 just didn't give a shit about stuff like that. He just wanted to do the thing he wanted to do. So he was like, no, we'll just do a new mask.
But also it's a different actor playing the shape, right? As well.
Yeah. Don Shanks.
Or a different stuntman or whatever. And this obviously makes a difference as well, because the mask kind of fits different people, and then there's the whole sort of gait and walk and movement and all that sort of stuff. So the continuity of actual Michael Myers himself has been pretty all over the place, hasn't it?
Was just saying, God, they really do change, because he's not such a big crazed fan as I am. He's sort of like, wow, he was looking at them all.
Yeah,
and they do change.
By 6, he's an older man playing the part, and he's a very sort of broader man.
More food, perhaps.
He's like
well, there's like nearly a deck. What it was, there's 8 years between the films, right?
Well,
so I suppose,
But because also with the sort of continuity of them moving, I had a thought the other day that the world, like before the remakes, every Halloween movie before, up until about the remakes, there wasn't an internet. There wasn't podcasts. There wasn't like the absolute saturation of home video. There wasn't the opportunity to get hold of these movies. So the films were made by these writers and directors under the tutelage of Mustafa Akkad for a cinema audience that would go once and maybe go again. And like the majority of them, they probably didn't even really expect home video sales, because it just wasn't. That wasn't how they made movies.
It wasn't going to be under the microscope like things are today.
And even if they, even if they sold 1 through 6 on home video, and H2O probably when they made it, even if they managed to sell some home videos of that lot, they knew it would be on VHS. People's TVs were like 14-inch screens. It was like 200 lines of resolution. Even if they sold some VHS, they didn't really have this sense of like, people are going to pore over these and be angry about the masks not being correct, because they won't be able to just easily compare them in high definition and stuff. So I just feel like now any Halloween fan is like really obsessive over masks, and quite rightly, I think it's a very important subject. But at the time, I can totally see why it just would not even occur to the filmmakers that they should match the masks better or match the actors' walks better, because if you saw Halloween 4 in 1988 in the movie theatre, and then a year later you went and saw Halloween 5, you probably hadn't seen Halloween 4 since then. So you wouldn't probably notice that the mask had completely changed and the actor was a few feet different, and you're
absolutely right. It's a different time, and actually one of the things I will really applaud the Rob Zombie film for actually is both the casting and the look of the shape stroke Michael Myers in that film. Putting Tyler Mane in that and having the costume and the mask look the way it did, I thought, because that is something as a reimagining that he could have completely changed. He didn't, and that's something I definitely applaud him for, because I think the actual look of Michael Myers in those films is pretty awesome, actually.
I think it is good, although I would side with what a lot of people say, is that part of what was so great about the original Michael Myers is that he was a kid who grew into a normal kind of average build, average height man who happened to get a mask off out of a shop, right? And you get Tyler Mane, who I think is like 6'7" and built like a giant wrestler. But he comes from that little kind of chubby kid with the blonde hair. And you kind of go, yeah, because I do agree with you that I like the kind of the menacing look of big Michael Myers, but it's like I don't see how that kid became that guy. Whereas like,
and what is it? He gets the overalls off the trucker who's doing the mother load.
It's just sleaze for sleaze's sake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the problem with remakes, that everything's got to be bigger, it's got to be better, and I mean, the thing is, I'm not a big fan of recent remakes because they just tend to do the same thing, which when I heard that Rob Zombie's remake was literally we explain where he comes from, which I thought at the time, okay, I'm kind of interested to see where that goes, but then it's just a straight remake for the second half. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reasonings that Rob Zombie gave for making the film, and one of them I think is kind of well known, is the fact that he said, I don't get how he could drive a car. Who taught him to drive a car?
Yeah.
And it's like,
who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, Evil taught him.
He was doing rather well last night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually saw a very good comedy short where they say it's a missing scene for Halloween, where you see Michael Myers taking his driving lesson. It's actually
Nice.
Kane Hodder behind the mask. It's really well done.
Right. I mean, also, if it Americans all drive automatics, it's not that hard to drive a car, really. If you don't give a shit about killing people, you just have to turn it on and go. Really. It's not that hard. I buy that he could drive a car. I'm fine with it. If you don't care that you don't hit pedestrians and you don't care about the speed limit, then fucking drive, mate.
Now, again, I'm sure I've seen this. It's been a long time since I've watched supplemental material on these films, but I did go through them quite a lot. But I might have got this wrong. When we got to Halloween H2O, which obviously Steve Miner directed, am I right in saying that originally the mask was actually quite different, and then they decided to go back and both digitally manipulate and reshoot with the more traditional looking Michael Myers mask? Have I got that right?
Yeah, there's actually technically there's 4 masks in H2O still. Right. So in the final cut there are basically 4 of them. One is the same mask from Halloween 6, and that's only in the sort of cold open prelude bit where he kills Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the nurse and Chambers and everything. And then after that point, after the title sequence, it's a mixture of the other 3. One of them was made by Stan Winston, which is like the one that everyone hates so much, I think.
Oh, even though we loved Stan Winston when he was with us.
Yeah. But they just hated the mask, and it just looks nothing like anything else, really. And most of that was reshot, but there's still a couple of scenes with it in. And then the other one is the K&B mask, which was a better interpretation. I may have got those two round the wrong way, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. And then the 4th version is the CGI, where for some reason they went, well, we can't reshoot this, but also we don't want to use the one that we have used in other scenes, so we'll paint it in 1997 CGI, which is not going to work. So yeah, there's a few. And I did get it the wrong way round. I've just looked at. So the KMB one was the one that they reshot with right. So it was Stan Winston did a much better version. The cool thing I always think is that that really iconic shot where she comes face to face with him through the little porthole in the door.
Yeah, that's manipulated, isn't it? That shot, is that right? Oh, okay.
If you watch the trailer, it's the KMB mask, and then if you watch the film, it was one of the bits they reshot with the new mask, right. And it looks so different when you look at him. Like, the KMB's like, he's got a really puggy little nose and big brown eyebrows that are sort of plucked. Terrible idea. I think the only CGI is the one where he's in the kitchen after the guy's trying to put his hand in the what's the word? The dispenser thing.
The garbage dispenser.
Yeah.
Disposal. Yeah.
I think that's the only bit that ended up with the CGI mask, but yeah. Mask in H2O is not the best thing about that film.
No, well, I find it. I mean, it scares me to think that H2O is actually 20 years old now, because that was the Halloween film that came out when I was at film school.
Oh, wow.
Which again, I was massively excited about, and I actually think it's quite a good entry in the franchise. Actually, I think H2O is a fairly decent, 20-year on follow on to the to the first two films, because obviously that one, doesn't ignore 2. That one just ignores 4, 5, and 6, right? And obviously this was the sort of Kevin Williamson era, wasn't it? And of course, weirdly a screen debut for Josh Hartnett playing her son in that. So
So you get the whole,
so in that continuity, she didn't have the daughter, but she had the son.
Yeah. I love H2O. I think it's certainly for like in my timeline of really loving horror, it was like 2 years after Scream, so I was completely in love with all the Halloween films then. So I remember it feeling like, a Halloween film, a new one is coming out, so suddenly it felt really good and everything. I think LL Cool J even is very good in it.
He's great. I watched it just the other day again to sort of remind myself, and I was like, you know what, this is actually quite a decent Halloween movie. It felt like, to me, obviously the standard of movie had sort of dropped. Halloween 4, 5, and then 6 sort of they seem to get sort of progressively worse in quality, whereas this one felt like it sort of stepped back towards the quality of the original film. Obviously it doesn't touch the original, but in terms of actual filmmaking, this seemed a step in the right direction. Jamie Lee Curtis, it was just great to have her back, and she looked fantastic in this film. And I love the fact that we got the nurse back, and as another sort of link to the original film. And I think H2O is a decent film. It's not perfect by any means, but I think it's a fairly good Halloween film.
I think it's I really love it. It's definitely one of my favorites of all of them. I think it's surprisingly very different from, in a weird way, I think 4, 5, and 6 are closer in some ways to the original, but than H2O is. But H2O was such a product of late 90s slashers, and it kind of went, how do we bring back one of the kind of godfathers of this genre, but make that work in a kind of postmodern, post-Scream kind of feel? And I think, and even putting Scream 2 on the TV in one of the scenes was amazing. But I really liked it. I think there's like really great scenes, and everyone's really good in it. And it's got like the cast, considering where they've gone on to, was incredible. But again, that's a product of its time as well, is that you could get these sort of new TV stars and turn them into movie stars by doing slasher movies. Again, thanks to Scream.
Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams. That's pretty impressive. And I mean, this had the sort of typical 90s thing of being a bit winky. But I have to say, I do like the whole Janet Leigh cameo and having the car and the reference to the Psycho music. And
love
stuff.
that.
I know, and of course the line about it's Halloween, everyone's entitled to one good scare and all that. I know that's all sort of massively winky references, but I kind of love it, I have to say.
I think it's great. And I think what has been a big sort of selling point and a big story about the marketing surrounding Halloween 2018 has been this idea of revisiting the character of Laurie Strode as someone who's like kind of suffering from PTSD, who's been through all this trauma, which for those of you who've seen Halloween 2018, I think they did so well. I absolutely love her performance in this year's Halloween. But weirdly, I feel like the narrative has completely forgotten that she did that in H2O really well as well.
She did,
absolutely. She did it really well. Like, she was an alcoholic. She was having these dreams. She was smothering her son and being overprotective and overbearing.
Nightmares.
It's like all of that stuff is in there.
She had it all. Yeah.
The stuff that isn't in there, she's not kind of stockpiling weapons and all of this stuff, but actually that is interesting enough that she kind of, Kerry Tate believes that she's safe enough because she's moved across the country, she's changed her name, she faked her death, but there's this hint that she'll never be over it. But in a weird way, it's like the stakes are higher because while she keeps seeing him in her nightmares and she's an alcoholic, I think you get the impression, well, he won't really find me. And then when he does, it's like, oh shit, he really found her. And that, like, she wasn't fully prepared in the way that she's more prepared in the new film. So that when he comes, it was her worst nightmare, but she never quite believed it would happen enough to be ready for him, you know? She has like one revolver and, you know, she's not ready for this to really happen. So she has to sort of step up her game. And I absolutely love that shot, the moment where she kind of traps them inside the school grounds when the kids have gone, and and it's just him and her on the school ground, or so she thinks. And she's walking through, and there's like the big shadow, and she just screams Michael with the axe in her hand. It's like such an amazing moment in that film. It's so good.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, this one holds up. I think. I still think it holds up. You know.
I mean, just that we brought up Halloween 2018, which I wish they picked another title because now we've got 3 Halloweens.
Yeah, they should have called it H40. I really do think they should have called it.
Well, no, they were going to call it Halloween Returns, which I think would have been a better title. Yeah.
Called Michael Myers, but it's not spelt that way. It's a fan account, but he's basically removed the 2 E's from the Michael and the Myers, but he his favoured title was always Halloween Part 2, which I thought was quite good, because I get that you can't call it Halloween 2 because then what does that make Halloween 2, both of them? But Halloween Part 2 could be quite interesting because it kind of suggests continuity but a gap as well.
I was going to say, because it just with the name just Halloween, it just makes it seem like it's another reboot, you know. So we've now got the 3 films all named just Halloween.
If you wanted to be really annoyingly pedantic and pretentious, the original's real title is John Carpenter's Halloween, so in that sense this could effectively be a remake of Rob Zombie's Halloween.
The thing I wanted to say about the new one is that for a film that kind of set out to erase history and be its own thing, it just cherry picks from all other films.
Totally.
I mean, I enjoyed the film when I was watching it, but now thinking about it, I have a few problems.
All right. Well, we'll get on to those. I have to admit, I one of my regrets, and this is not anything we're going to sort of get into, but just what I want to say is, I wish I hadn't watched the trailer for Halloween 2018, because I think the trailer gave away an awful lot, and a lot of it was these things that were kind of homages to the other Halloween films. Right. I mean, right down to the the bit where he goes in the kitchen's very much like the bit in Halloween 2 where she's going, "Do you want some mayonnaise on your sandwich?" You know, that whole bit. And I'd seen that in the trailer before I even saw the film, so it was like, damn, I wish I hadn't seen the trailer. It gave away so much. But
and definitely like the Vicky attack from the closet, which in the trailer was so good. I was like, oh my God, this film's going to be amazing. And then as soon as she put the kid to bed, I was like, I know exactly where this goes. And I did agree. I was just like, oh, I wish I didn't know that he's in that closet. Like, I know exactly how this scene goes.
This is the thing. I didn't see the trailer for this.
Come out of the closet, Mr. Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the stuff was very much signposted, and I felt some of the jumps in it were not very well timed. So, you know, as we've warned you before, we're getting into spoilers, but in the third act, when it's Laurie Strode and Michael Myers going up against each other, there is a bit where, you know, you feel, oh wow, this is getting really tense. This really get tense. Where's he going to come from? Where did he come from? And when they did the reveal, it was like, oh wow, okay, that just did not do anything for me. You know, it was really bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect film by any means. No. But you know what?
But before
we drill into it too much, though, we have jumped over Halloween Resurrection, which
your
is
favourite,
probably
Keith?
A good thing. the only reason I wanted to mention it is just the fact that my biggest problem with Halloween Resurrection is the very beginning, where it just takes a massive turd on the Laurie Strode character. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I was just like, I mean, and again, we talk about ridiculous wrecked on him, you know, with the whole, oh, you didn't chop Michael's head off.
Oh, yeah.
Chop the guy, the ambulance driver with his larynx crushed or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
And that whole film seemed to follow a trope of, again, I can't remember the examples, but the whole sort of haunted reality TV show was a bit of a trope with a couple of other films, I think, at the time.
My Little Lie was a good version
and
of
they
that.
just kind of, let's do it with the Halloween franchise and make a sort of very sort of substandard Halloween film. But I know you were in the middle of it, Simon, but I just wanted to quickly go back there before we dig into the new film.
Well,
so I mean, have any of you guys got anything you want to say about Halloween Resurrection, or shall we just plow straight on with the new stuff?
I do. I saw an interview with Jamie Lee Curtis where she talked about this, and she said, I did H2O because I wanted to kill off Michael Myers, and then I found out in my contract that you cannot kill Michael Myers. You cannot kill him off. And you get a bit of her as she is in the new one. You know, she's very resourceful. She's set up a trap for him. But, you know, it really goes pear-shaped for her. And they just kill her off. And it's just like, fuck. And then you have to sit through the rest of the film. And the only thing that makes it up is Busta Rhymes fighting Michael Myers.
Yeah, it's doing karate. Yeah, it's such a bizarre disappointment. It's also I feel really sad about Halloween Resurrection just because of my age. It was the first time I saw a Halloween movie in the cinema, and that is a shame to be that one. I mean, even though at the time I was like,
so young.
Yeah. I mean, I've now seen a fair few of them in cinemas by finding, but that was the first time I actually saw a Halloween film in the cinema because I was 18, so I was old enough to go and see it in the cinema. But that was it. And I wore a mask and a boiler suit to go see it as well. No one gave a shit, really.
No, actually, while we talk of masks and boiler suits, I do have to just say this is one. I'm trying to remember what year it was, but there was one year that I went to Thorpe Park one Halloween when they were doing their Halloween special thing. And I went, I don't think you're allowed to do this now. I went, in fact, I'm probably the reason you're not allowed to do this now. I went dressed as Michael Myers. So I bought a boiler suit and some boots and the Halloween mask. And I had like a plastic kitchen knife kind of thing. And I went and I told the people I was with, right, I said, I'm going to stay in character all night. And they were like, Keith, we know how much you talk. There's no way you're not going to say anything for like 6 hours. And I said to them, I absolutely am. I'm going to not say anything. I'm going to be in character the whole time, right? So I went, and people were wanting to have the guests in the park were wanting to have their photos taken with me and everything, right? But here was the thing. We went on all of the rides, right? Everything, all of the roller coasters. And I went without speaking, without screaming, but most importantly, without holding on, because I figured Michael wouldn't be doing white knuckles on a white knuckle ride because he's Michael Myers. So I did actually manage to stay in character and not speak for a whole 6 hours. So whilst being conscious. So it can be done, folks.
You're my hero.
Actually, shut up occasionally, but it was good fun. But seriously, the amount of guests that wanted to have their picture taken with me was ridiculous, right? Yeah. And it does make me wonder if that's why now you're not allowed to wear costumes for those things, you know.
Wow.
Well,
anyway,
maybe you
sorry, that's my
people.
side story. Yeah. Yes. I love Halloween, so I went to that extreme. There you go.
Good for you. You're my hero. I love it. That's commitment.
Anyway, sorry. Back to Resurrection.
Resurrection.
Well, that's not. I don't think there's much more you can say about it. It is what it is. It's a Dimension film, and it was at a time when Dimension was taking these franchises like this and Hellraiser, and they were just turning out any old tosh.
Yeah.
And it was tosh.
Yes. And we've covered
the
Rob Zombie ones enough, haven't we?
Well, could I just say one more thing about the Rob Zombies?
Okay.
I said what I liked about the first one. Halloween 2, Rob Zombie Halloween 2, I've only ever managed to get through twice.
Theatrical and director's cut, right?
Only director's cut. I've not seen the theatrical version. Yeah. It is horseshit of the worst stench in many, many ways. But there is one scene in that movie which I am blown away by and is genuinely horrifying in a really good way. I think the thing about Rob Zombie's general approach to horror, I think, is what turns people off, is that he, to his credit, makes films that want you to feel very bad, and I think he does deliver on that, in the sense that you feel dirty when you watch a Rob Zombie movie. You feel ugly, you feel like sad to be a human, you feel total nihilism, like there's no relief from any of it. It's miserable, the world in which he creates, and many people don't necessarily want that out of a film, but I think it's quite a bold statement sometimes that he keeps doing that, because he says, we're making horror, we're making the darkest side of humanity, and this is how I see it. And so from that sense, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, as I think that's what he said is, if Rob Zombie's making Halloween, that's the version I'm going to make, right? And I think he kind of did that with the first one. There is no light, there is all dark, all the humans in it are appalling, there is gratuitous rape and nudity that doesn't need to be in there, and I don't like any of that, but I see what he was trying to do. With Halloween 2, he was sort of doing more of that, but then all this mad shit with his mum and the white horse that I can't see where that came into it. He turns Loomis, which has been like this figure, this character that was so beloved by Halloween fans, he turns him from a bit of an arrogant guy in the first one to being a total maniac, horrible, cruel person in the second one. He turns Laurie Strode into a screaming, whinging, terrible person, just destroys all his own characters. But the one bit that I genuinely think is amazing in that film is after Annie is killed for real in this one, spoiler alert, so when Daniel Harris is murdered, and then Brad Dourif's sheriff comes and finds her in the house, something happens that like they never do in slasher movies, I think because people want to believe that slashers are fun, and it goes quiet and it goes still for just a moment while we watch a father genuinely grieving for his dead child while trying to maintain like a professionalism as well as being the sheriff. But he is like, Brad Dourif does such an amazing job of it. The music suddenly changes. The film just suddenly becomes this really melancholy, sad, like genuinely sad moment where you suddenly go, holy shit, this is real now. Like his daughter's just died in the most horrific way, and he's had to find her, but he can't stay with her and grieve because he's the sheriff of the town. He has to stop it. And I think, again, the film in general doesn't even deserve that scene, but from a horror movie perspective, I really like when you just see something that makes you kind of question what you're enjoying about it, because I think all too often with slasher movies, actually, they're super fun. You end up rooting for the villain, you end up loving the kills, you end up cheering on the violence, and I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that, because that's the context in which these films exist. But I think what he does in that scene is he shows us the genuine like humanity for just a moment of the realism of that, and just for that moment alone, I think there is merit in that film. Having said that, all the other moments in that film are pretty much unwatchable. So
no, I agree entirely. I mean, we love Brad Dourif, and we are generally quite numb and desensitized to slashers in general, but I know the scene you mean, and that is a genuinely good bit of acting and well directed, and like you said, taking the music out, all of that stuff really works. But the rest of the film, it does its own thing. It doesn't follow Halloween 2. It kind of literally does its own thing. Even though it's only a couple of years later, apparently the actor that was playing young Michael Myers had such a growth spurt that they had to recast, and kiddie they've got in this is nothing like him. And I agree absolutely with what you said, is in these films, Laurie Strode is quite an unlikable character, and we like Malcolm McDowell as an actor, but in this film, the second one, it really takes a dump on Loomis, because the character is totally despicable, and he's all about money and celebrity and book sales, and it's just a really nasty character that you don't root for at all, which is kind of completely anti the love that we always had for the Loomis character, when Pleasance would play him. So he did something different, but different doesn't necessarily mean good.
No, exactly. And I'd almost say, with that in mind, that in a way he's presenting a quite realistic vision of, after the trauma that all these people have gone through, the way those flawed human beings might deal with it. So in a weird way, that is almost quite commendable, but he completely ignores the fact that people want to go and be entertained to some degree by these films, and they want to be able to root for someone, and there is nothing about that film that entertains, drives people to want to stay with the characters, because no one has got anything to like about them. Even Annie is just sort of just horrible. Like it's just the two of them screaming at each other for most of the film. It's just so it's basically just saying, do you know what's awful? All human beings. Michael Myers isn't even the worst one in that. They're all horrible.
He made all the human characters despicable, and you end up, sympathizing for Michael, and and as I said, the whole mechanics, overalls, and the mask and everything, the design of all of that, I thought all of that worked because he largely kept that to how it had been in the original, but just changed everything else.
He does wear a hoodie a lot in that film. That I feel like that was pushing it. Also, most of the mask is gone by the end of it, so you are just looking at again, another sort of Rob Zombie lookalike, bearded, long-haired metaler for a lot of it.
Yes. Oh, well. So, Simon, sorry. Carry on from, because now is the time to get into our spoilerific Halloween 2018. But sorry, I just felt that we needed to cover those last few films in the franchise before we got to it. So we've got Jason Blum involved now, which is always a good thing, right?
But we also have Miramax involved, and I don't know. So okay, what I was sort of saying, sort of my point being, is that they set out to make this their own, and for those first, I guess, 20 minutes, it does. I love the stuff at the mental institute. That whole scene where the podcasters who are doing the investigation come and try and interview Michael Myers, try and get some words out of him.
I would have quite liked that role. I'd have quite liked that role, actually.
It was very effective.
Yeah.
But then it was just like, okay, I understand that this is like discontinuing, discounting everything else that happens, but then they use everything that's happened in all the other Halloween films. So he's getting transferred, so you know what's going to happen there. There's never been a transfer of Michael Myers that's gone well, is there?
No.
And then he gets a car at a toilet, which, where do we see that? H2O.
H2O, yeah.
And the garage, the same thing from Halloween 4 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, as you say, with the sort of homage to 2, where he kills the woman in the kitchen, and
the silver shamrock masks.
Yes. So that was I didn't mind that. That was
nice Easter egg.
Yeah, that was a nice Easter egg. But I mean, it's just this weird thing that they were going, right, everything you love about the Halloween films, well, discount that because none of that happened, but we're just going to cherry pick from all those films to make this film. And do we want to talk about our new Sam Loomis character in this, the new Doctor?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've given spoiler warnings, so we're going to go there for sure.
Well,
yeah.
He wasn't really a character. He was just a device so that they could get Michael Myers from Haddonfield to Laurie Strode's house. That's what I felt, because his character and his motivations then bring up a lot of questions that the film never answers.
Yes. Yeah, I mean that one of the there's a lot of things this film does that I think it does very well. I mean, I think it's well made. I loved the fact that they kept the exact font and everything for the opening credits, and back to the whole sort of pumpkin jack-o'-lantern thing. I love the fact they did all that. Obviously, the music, of course, Carpenter and his son was sort of involved in this as well. It's weird actually when I think about my childhood and the inspiration. For me, there was always kind of with movie music, it was always to kind of, at one end of the scale you had John Williams with the big sort of orchestral scores, and then at the other end you had the synth stuff by Carpenter that was really stripped back, but both I equally loved when I was a kid, in terms of those soundtracks to movies. It was good.
And I have to say, the soundtrack is the best thing about the film. I mean, it was great to have John Carpenter come back with his son as well, doing the music. But it then makes you wonder, well, if he was doing the music, why didn't they ask him to direct it?
I think they did.
Maybe he thought he'd done that before and he didn't. Because I know the reason he didn't do 2 was because he felt he'd already made that movie, so didn't particularly want to direct, the same thing again. And maybe that's how he felt here. I don't know. Because wasn't he even offered H2O as well?
I think he's been offered all of them.
Yeah.
And at some point in the negotiation, he's been offered all of the films, and he's always said, no, someone else can do it. But yeah.
Yeah. He always takes the check.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, he and Deborah Hill did create this stuff, but I mean, one of the things I was disappointed about, in terms of the beginning, so if we're going through it sort of chronologically here, is I was hoping that there would be. I know they talk a lot about it, but I was hoping if I had made this film, I would have wanted it to have started with the opening saying, Haddonfield, Illinois, October 31st, 1978, Halloween. And actually, like they did in Halloween 2, showed the very end bit with Michael, just to have that, because obviously they refer to it, but I just think to tie it to that, it would have been really nice, and then to come to 2018, Haddonfield 2018 later, but they didn't go there.
No, I think that was a good thing, because you have a character there who was there the night they arrested Michael Myers, and it's like
the Will Patton character.
I didn't need to see that. Also, I mean, that made me laugh, because in all these sequels, you always have a character who was there on the night. I mean, you had Paul Rudd in 6, who was playing the kid that Laurie Strode was babysitting. And now we got the sheriff,
Tommy.
Though I have to say, I thought he was actually the stuttering kid from the 5th one at first.
Billy.
Right. I didn't really, it was. It's just
Tommy Doyle, wasn't it? He was supposed to be. Is that right? The kid from the first film. Yeah. And Lindsay was also in one of them, wasn't she? Was that 4 or 5?
I think she does.
The one that Annie was babysitting. Is that right?
Yeah. She does crop up in 4 very briefly, I think. Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, because Jamie had grown up, he seemed to be of a similar age to Jamie. But if he was the kid that Laurie Strode was babysitting, he'd be a lot older. So that's why it felt like he was the stuttering kid from the 5th one.
I think the problem there is Paul Rudd, because Paul Rudd never ages.
Yes.
And J.C. Brandy, who played the older Jamie, I think she's only meant to be like 16, the character, or something. But she just looks old because it's like 1995 and she's got short hair or something. I don't know, because I know what you mean, but it's like I think the character's meant to be a teenager, whereas Paul Rudd's meant to be like 25 or something. So
they look about the same.
But he'll forever look the same age. So,
but here's the thing: I know John Carpenter always said, Michael Myers is just a sort of force of nature, to sort of explain, his superhuman strength and vulnerability and all, or invulnerability and all that stuff. But I'm nitpicking a lot here. But the thing with H2O, okay, because it included Halloween 2 and therefore included the sister storyline, okay, there was some motivation as to why Michael specifically was going after Laurie Strode, okay? In this film, that's obviously now really ambiguous, because, okay, she was the survivor from that night, but other than that, it's like, well, why is he going after her?
Well, he wasn't. That's the thing. He wasn't originally, because he seemed to be just on a killing spree. I mean, he was literally killing random people.
He was, everyone.
Yeah, it was literally like, I was really happy that he didn't kill the baby.
Yes.
And I think,
I thought he was going to for a minute.
I thought he was going to as well.
He did kill the kid though, which I was quite surprised about.
First kill.
The
kid with the gun. Yeah.
I would challenge the motivation thing on Laura. The question there. How many times have you seen this one?
Oh, I've only seen this the once.
Okay,
I've seen it once.
And that was on opening day.
I'd go again because I think there is some stuff to take in, but my feeling on the Laurie Strode motivation thing is that in this film, again, spoiler alert, everyone, he's not going after Laurie Strode. At no point does he try to get to Laurie Strode. She goes after him. So she finds him in the house, in the kid's house where Vicky's babysitting. She sees him in the window, right? And then he's like you said earlier, he's taken to her by Dr. Sartain. And she's ready for him. She wants him to find her. But if she'd have just moved away, all he was doing was going home to Haddonfield, where he was before, where the killing began for him. So like where he kills Judith and where he kills in 78. So all he's done is gone back to Haddonfield to carry on killing people because that's where he knows, like that's his home. So if she'd have moved, if she'd have stayed on the H2O plan and moved to Summer Glen, California, or whatever, that would have been fine because he just wouldn't have crossed her path again. He would have just killed people. So I feel like that was fine.
Because the prison bus crash wasn't random. That was the doctor that orchestrated that, right? Yeah.
He sees... So whereas Loomis saw him as pure evil and the devil's eyes and all of that stuff, Sartain sees him as an animal, and he wants to observe the animal in its natural habitat, which is go home and let him kill people.
Right. Which that kind of, again, one of my... There's a lot of things I liked about this film, but one of the things that I maybe wasn't so keen on was the whole, him being like, sort of like part of the cult that likes my, especially that whole bit from the bit where he gets hit. Will Patton's character, hits him with the police vehicle, and then the doctor ends up stabbing him and puts on the mask and all that. At that point, I was a bit, I'm not sure I like that, but.
Well, as I said,
there was a lot I did like.
It felt like he was like, just there in the script, so he could get Michael Myers to Laurie Strode's house.
It was kind of a device.
But because once he was finished, once he got him there, that was it. His part was over. He was killed off. I have to say, it felt that his kill felt very different to all the other Michael Myers kills. It felt more like something that Jason Voorhees.
I thought that. I felt that it was that over the top that it had that sort of slightly unreal over the top feel about it. But one of the things I did like, actually, one line that did make me kind of chuckle when I thought, oh, that's good, is when his granddaughter, when Laurie's granddaughter and her friends are chatting, and the guy says something about like, wasn't she his sister? Didn't he come home to get his sister?
Okay.
And she goes, oh, that's the thing of sort of folklore or whatever, or myth, kind of thing. I did like that they went there and sort of addressed that. So
I don't know. I did feel like that was a bit of a fuck you to all the other Halloween films. I know that John Carpenter said it was a mistake to make her the sister in the script for the second one, but that did feel like a little bit of a fuck you. And also the fact that it was kind of saying, well, we're going to try and be different from all the others, and then I said it wasn't. It wasn't. And I mean, the positives: Jamie Lee Curtis, brilliant, absolutely amazing.
Oh, she's wonderful.
She's really good in it. I thought the rest of the family was really well done, even though
again, Judy Greer was a bit wasted, wasn't she, as the daughter?
No,
she had her moment.
She had her moments. I think she was really good at it. I think the problem with Judy Greer is that she's always playing a mum. Yeah. Jurassic World mum. He just seems to be. We need somebody to play a mum. Who could we get? But I mean, I thought she was really well done. I thought actually her motivations was kind of sketched out. I thought she had a great moment at the end. I mean, I thought it was a really good moment. I thought the granddaughter was good as well, even though the whole thing with the boyfriend was a bit, that he was there and then he just was disposed of very quickly. Not even killed. It was just like, he's gone now.
I did like the whole motion sensor thing though with the boyfriend's friend.
Oh yeah, that poor guy. Yeah, I mean there was that was very well done. There was some good stuff in it, but there was some stuff in it was, the one shot at first was kind of I thought this is really good, but then it's just like, but Michael Myers. I don't know, it just didn't feel like the character. The fact that he just went in and killed somebody and then walked off and then killed somebody again in that such a quick succession like that.
Al, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I must say I loved it so much. I completely hear what you both are saying. And even but do you know what? I don't see any of them as negatives. I loved it so much. I felt like, don't get me
wrong, I liked it. I'm nitpicking here. I did like it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I just I was so excited to go see it. I was like, I took the morning off, went by myself. The first one.
I did.
I loved it so much. I loved the fact that it was like, I felt like we were being given it. We've not had an original Halloween film since 2002. It was like, wow, we're getting a Halloween film again. I'm so grateful for that. I genuinely cried at the end when the credits rolled because I was just so overwhelmed that I liked it so much. I thought it was like a really great, quite relatively on the nose, but really well played metaphor from a perspective of like destroying the patriarchy, where the three women with differences have to come together to destroy mute and violent males. I thought that was like such a great story. I thought Jamie Lee was amazing. And Simon, while I hear what you're saying about going back and doing all these moments from the other films, I have two thoughts on that. First of all, I really liked it because I love just spotting tributes to stuff anyway, from a sort of geeky perspective. But I also thought it had to be that, because I feel like, as with many, many Halloween films in the franchise, they're always slightly a product of the time in which they come out. And the time in which this one's come out is a time where we're always, from a pop culture standpoint, looking back. So we're always looking retroactively at stuff that we liked as kids or something like that. So I think with this one, they went, look, everyone agrees now because we can see the internet and everyone talks about this stuff, and there's this podcast and many other things, we know that people want the original. We can't do the original. We're not going to try and do exactly the original, but we're trying to remain faithful to that. But for all those fans that love the franchise, let's throw in some cool little things that, if you like, even, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Ray, so Judy Greer's husband, the character Ray, speaks about how a friend of his, Lonnie, was arrested back in his youth or something, and Lonnie's the kid that, like, Dr. Loomis says, Lonnie, get your ass away from there. And I was like, that's so cool that you like remember, like, just worked all that stuff into it. So while I totally get that felt, I can see how that would feel like that's a bit of a cheat if you're not gonna. But I get also, and I've seen some interviews where they've kind of said, like, look, we couldn't work out which timeline would be the best to follow, so we got rid of all of them. And I was like, I'm fine with that. And if you want to throw in a bunch of references, go for it.
Well, I mean, these are to your point about the fact that, you know, we're living in a time when these filmmakers are sort of making films, you know, that reference the past. I mean, when you think about it, these filmmakers are from our generation. So they're literally kind of what we'd be doing if we were lucky enough to be making these studio films, you know. You know, in terms of homaging them and referencing back and whatever, you know, they're doing that. But I mean, I want to go on the record here as saying on this, even though I'm nitpicking about a few things, I do love this film, and it's not like The Predator was for me, or Jurassic World was for me, where those are franchises that I love, but I had a problem with the latest film. In this case, I'm just saying for points of conversation here, a few nitpicky things, but I actually really enjoyed it. So, you know, don't get me wrong.
Okay, I'm going to go on the record and say, I don't think this film was for me.
Okay.
And I'll say that because I was sitting in the front of the screen, and I had a young couple next to me, and they were scared shitless. I mean, they were up into their chairs, and they literally, by the end, they looked like the chair was trying to eat them. Because they were so in the back of it, trying to get away from the screen. I'm going, this is for a new generation of horror fans. These are for horror fans, well, for people who've never seen a horror film before. It works on that. For me, for somebody who's seen a load of horror films, it had no effect on me. I mean, I enjoyed it, and I will watch it again, and I think it's a lot better than, you know, some of the films in there. But thinking back on the screening, it's kind of like there's certain things that niggled me, and it was just like, why is it that filmmakers can't seem to come up with new ways of doing things? That kind of does bother me as a filmmaker, because it's like, is it a case of, as you say, well, they couldn't think of anything, or is it the fact that they were told by the studios? Because you got Universal, you got Miramax, you've got Blumhouse. You know, did they all say, well, this is a Halloween film, so you've got to have these things in it? Yeah. And you know, as I say, it was enjoyable, but it didn't. There's nothing in it that made me jump, made me scared. It was a lot of stuff in there that I'd seen before, and as not just in other Halloween films, but in other horror films, and those films was able to do it better. I mean, character-wise, very spot on. You made you care for all the characters in it, and so, you know, when they do get killed, you're like, you do feel sad. But then it was just, what did you guys think of the comedy cops? They literally brought back the comedy cops from 5.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of that felt a little bit more like the writer director stamp, didn't it? In terms of you look at you know, we just look at the production a second. You know, both from the director and the writer side, you've got, you know, Danny McBride as the writer and David Gordon Green as the director, and these are obviously quite different project. This is quite a different project to what they've sort of done previously, right? And I guess the sort of I don't know, the comedy. I mean, I was somewhat amused about the conversation about the sandwich, even though it was probably, you know, it did feel like it was from another movie, but I did find it kind of amusing. What did you think, Alistar?
I thought with I was fine with the comedy cops. I don't think it had such a small moment that I felt like it was well played enough. I thought like the joke about the sandwich was kind of, it was smart enough that it was like, I just don't feel like you can compare it to the Halloween 5 comedy cops, where they've literally got sound effects as they walk of clowns.
I know,
and they actually say at one point
when that scene came along, I was like, Are these the comedy cop? They are. They're doing the comedy cops. I mean, because they're literally sitting outside looking at,
Yeah.
The same thing.
But I think it's not a trope that doesn't have its place within really great films. Dewey in Scream is a comedy cop. He's like, they've been doing that in horror movies since Last House on the Left. So it does happen. And I think it can work, and it can also be very badly done. But I felt in this one it did work.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing was that what I think kind of why I didn't quite like it was the fact that it literally came out of nowhere, and it just came at a moment where it was like, I should be feeling more tension now. This is not the point to sort of, to have a release. I mean, the way those guys got killed was, when you saw their bodies, was like, wow, that's really good. But when did he have the time to do all that hollowing out and stuff?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that was. It's funny. There is a little section of the film which was really from the bit where, as I said, they run Michael Myers over, but then of course, stop and don't keep going. Yeah. Right the way through, the reveal of the doctor and him putting the mask on and then getting in the thing, right the way through, Michael killing him and getting those comedy cops, and then like sort of setting up the elaborate, like you said, the Halloween mask almost with his head and all this sort of thing. That little bit there was the bit that felt the most clunkiest for me of the whole film. Was that little sort of sequence of events just did seem a little bit not quite working as well with the rest of it. But again, I'm being quite nitpicky here.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the stuff in the house. I thought once they started facing off each other, I thought that was really good. I mean, as I said, there was a scare in it that didn't work for me. I think the timing of it was just badly executed, but that's just me. I know the couple next to me, they would disagree with me because they jumped out of their skins. But I always think of like the scare in Jaws with the head coming out. That it gets me every time. I've seen it get other people as well, and so it's.
The Ben Gardner thing. Yeah, amazing.
I mean, also with Halloween, there's certain jump scares in that work really well, and so it was just a shame. It's like, damn, if you only got, well, for me, they only hit that one properly.
I think you're really on the money, Simon, saying about how the idea that it wasn't made for you. It's so hard for, especially in a context of these kind of films that are based on older films that we've probably grown up with different, versions of and stuff. But absolutely, like slasher movies so specifically have always been aimed at a teenage audience.
Yeah.
And because I had the same experience on the second time I went, there was a young couple next to me, teenagers. They annoyed me a bit because they were whispering the entire way through the film. But I realised halfway through that they were trying to comfort each other. Yeah. And that the boy was like trying to be manly and take care of his girlfriend, but then once the kills started, he was freaking out. And I was like, I felt like you. I didn't go as far as to go, it wasn't made for me, but I feel like maybe from the filmmaker's perspective, I was like, they are riding pretty tricky sort of tightrope here, where they've got to make this film that's going to please people who were kids in 1978 enough, but they've also got to earn money from the cinema going audience of like 16 to 25 year olds who are going to go and sit and enjoy this film as if and they may never have heard of Halloween, even some of them, Well,
I mean, like all of the Halloween sequels, this one certainly did, it upped the body count and gore big time, because again, like when you think about it, in the first film, you only have, what is it, the 4 on-screen deaths in total, along with the dog,
and the mechanic in the weeds.
Well, there's the mechanic, but you don't actually see that one, do you?
Yeah, he's the off-screen. He's the off-screen.
So, because I guess, because again, I was thinking when they said he killed 5 people, I was trying to sort of do the math in my head, and I was like, well, there was the 3 friends plus the mechanic. So are they including Judith as well in that? Or did he kill someone to get out of the asylum?
He has killed 5, I suppose. It depends. I don't remember whether they say in 1978 or not. Yeah. I think for me, I would just want to mention, while I'm remembering it, Julian was a revelation. The kid, the being babysat, absolutely stunning performance.
Yeah.
If I was you, I'd run. Yeah. It was great.
He was incredible,
that was well done.
My only beef with his character, again, really super nitpicking, is that once he'd run out of the door, we didn't see any more of him, and I feel like that was underutilized. But having said that, I'm not sure how you'd tie that character up. I'm just sort of going, he ran down to the Mackenzies to call the police, and that's fine. That's what he's done. And the other one, the Rhiannon Reese, who played Dana in The Two Podcasters. I just thought she was really, really... I think both of the podcaster actors were really great, but she just had a real... I don't know, I felt like sometimes you just see actors that you've not seen before and go, man, I want to see more of her. And I just thought she was really... She rode a great line between trying to get the story but being genuinely a bit creeped out by what they were doing.
Yeah.
Which was quite interesting. And then her death was probably one of the best in it, I thought. Sorry, what was that?
I said I loved the fact that they were British as well. I loved the fact that he put them in there. But
this is why I find the Doctor reveal kind of annoying, because you set up this whole visit by the British podcasters, and they show him the mask, and you have this he doesn't, they say speak, Michael, speak, and he kind of does through all the other inmates who are like freaking out by this. And you're thinking, oh god, having the mask near him, this is going to wake him up. But then to find out really that the bus accident is because of the Doctor, it takes that away, and I agree. Kind of annoy me a bit. It's like, why?
Yeah, I wasn't completely satisfied with the whole Doctor thing. There was. I mean, there's a lot. All the Laurie Strode stuff and her family and all of that stuff works amazingly, and I'm totally happy with that. And I love the setup with the house and all the weapons and the safe room and all that sort of stuff. I thought that was all the tomb, as it turned out to be. Was really good, and all the references to the old stuff. But the Doctor bit was the one bit that didn't quite satisfy. But
I don't know. I mean, as I say, I don't know much about this production, and I'm sure we're going to learn more now that it's out. But that feels like a false note, and that does feel like something that was included by this studio.
Yeah, could well be.
It does feel like that, because everything else in the beginning, the way that was set up, makes it feel like they, that it was all going to be on Michael Myers' shoulders.
Giving them the benefit of the doubt, I wonder whether the intention, whether it wasn't realised very well, I wonder whether the intention with that is that he's a character that's over the years come to know Michael Myers and has now got a delusion of grandeur where he thinks he can try and control the situation. And from that perspective, it's almost like a very black comedy moment that as soon as he tries to do that, Michael takes control back and then literally stamps his head into the ground. I kind of think like, oh, that's quite a funny sort of like, oh, you want to try and control Michael Myers? Forget it. And it's almost maybe a nod to Halloween 6's Man in Black, perhaps, of like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do that.
It was kind of almost like the sort of cultish thing again, wasn't it?
It just wasn't executed very well.
No.
That's the problem.
Yeah. I don't think he should have put the mask on. The Doctor should not do like that. Real odd.
I know. I was really annoyed when he put the mask on. Yeah. I was like, no.
That properly messes with the kind of legend of Michael Myers thing. I think that people just will not like. He shouldn't. But also, it didn't make any narrative sense either. So it was like there was no reason for him to put it on, because all he did was put it on, drag the body into the car, and then take it straight off again. It wasn't like. There was no reason for him to wear it in any way. So yeah, if I'm going to nitpick, it'll be that. That's probably my only one. Don't put the mask on.
I got to ask, what did you think? What were our thoughts on the Loomis tapes? I mean, obviously, I think they used the fact that it was on old audio cassette, and you know, the playback of that as a sort of way to describe to disguise it not being quite perfect as you know, an imitation of Donald Pleasance. But did you buy it? Did that work for you?
I would say it's a much better imitation of Donald Pleasance than the H2O one. That was good.
Well, actually, on that note, I never got that, because I know it was Tom Kane, the voice actor that went on. He does Yoda in the Clone Wars animated series. So he's you know, quite known for sort of doing impressions of other actors doing a character. But what I never understood in H2O was the dialogue was exactly what Loomis had said. So I don't understand why they had someone re-record it. I mean, obviously in this case they had to, because it was completely different stuff. Yeah. But I never quite understood that with H2O, why it was freshly recorded and why they didn't just go back to the the master recordings from the original films. But I thought that was a bit odd.
Knowing a vague amount about the intricacies of movie contract law, right? I think they're so complicated with who owns specific rights to what and everything, especially when it comes to the original. That I imagine they physically couldn't get the rights to use the soundtrack, either the soundtrack from the original, or to use, or to reuse in a different context the recordings of Donald Pleasance, because he was dead and he might have had an estate contract. And that again, there's a weird link to Back to the Future in that, if that's the case, in that. It's gone. I've gone blank.
Crispin Glover.
Yeah, Crispin Glover sued Universal for using his image in Back to the Future 2, which set a precedent for that exact law. Is that you cannot. There's lots of contracts now with actors where you can't just reuse footage, including the soundtrack of their work, without express permission or without paying royalties or whatever. So I can imagine there's some bizarre technical and very boring legal reason why. But I always thought the same. And if you couldn't use the original recording, I always thought there must be someone who can do a better Dr. Loomis than that guy, because it's really bad in H2O. And I thought there must be a better version of that. But maybe not.
Right. Well, was the guy in this one better then?
I thought it was. I thought it was very, very close.
There was a couple of bits where I thought it sounded more like Michael Caine. But I think they were kind of using the fact that the tape was slipping a bit.
Yeah, they definitely
as a way to sort of cover that. So, I thought they did it well.
It worked. It was a nice little nod, and but it did have narrative sense to it that they would have been able to get hold of stuff like that and wanted to refresh their memory in the scene. So I didn't feel like it was just thrown in for no reason. I thought if you just threw that in because you wanted to go, oi, Donald Pleasance, that would be a cheap shot. But actually, it would make sense that they would get that. And it was quite eerie when the tape sort of failed. And I thought that was quite a nice little eerie moment, actually. So, I liked it. But I mean, guys, I really did love this film. So it's going to be hard for me to say much negative about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. I like. Put it this way, I've had my problems with films of late that have been, either sequels or continuations of franchises that I've sort of loved growing up, and I've had my issues with quite a few of them, and in this case, I'm being nitpicky for the sake of the actual podcast and the discussion, but yes, I really enjoyed this film and enjoyed the ride, and of course, it will never be as good as the original, but in terms of it is the 11th installment of the franchise, so
That's what they should have called it, Halloween 11. Just gone with it and just styled it out.
What,
just 1-1, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that looks like Halloween 2. Yeah, it's confusing, isn't it? Great.
Cool.
They should have gone with the Apple model and just gone, we'll just call it Halloween X and people will work it out eventually. But then they've already done Jason X, so it's been done.
Apple today, and they made it very clear that it's the 10S, not the XS.
Well, what happened to the iPhone 9 then? Is what I would say, and what happened to Final Cut 8 and 9? But whatever.
Yeah, well,
that's for a different podcast.
Anything else? I am conscious that, again, I know we've had 11 films to cover, so we haven't done bad, but I am conscious that this is another mammoth feature-length podcast, which we seem to be getting more and more of these days. Anything additional that, I think we've covered it quite a lot, but there's no end of stuff to discuss about these films, but anything in particular that you wanna bring up while we're here? That afterwards you'll go, oh shit, I should have mentioned this, because I do that every time.
Are we doing the heaven and hell? I think that's...
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Well, we are movie heaven, movie hell. Yeah. So
I'm a big fan, guys. I want to do the heaven and hell. Otherwise,
Yes, all right. No, fair enough then. Well, we always let our guest go first with that one. So, knock yourself out.
Okay, I'm going to be really annoying and really pretentious on this.
Right.
Well, if you'll let me, am I allowed to do 2 versions of this?
What, you mean to allow for the different timelines?
Sort of.
Go on, you can do whatever you like.
I'm going to do my actual realistic version.
Okay.
Which is obviously movie heaven has got to be Halloween. It's amazing. Without it, the rest don't even exist. Forget it. And then... it's a real toss-up between Resurrection and Zombie 2. Oh, dear.
As hell?
As hell, yeah.
Oh, right.
Not heaven.
No, God, no. Heaven is number 1. Hell is Resurrection or Zombie 2. I'm going to go with... Oh, God. I'm going to go with Resurrection because I think at least Rob Zombie tried something and failed. And I don't think they were really trying to do anything special with Resurrection much at all.
Because that was Rick Rosenthal again, wasn't it? Resurrection.
I know, just stay away, mate. Now, my pretentious version of the answer, because I feel like, well, obviously it's original Halloween, that's going to be everyone's, right? So I had to come up with like a pretentious version, and that is movie heaven, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, the producer's cut, which I genuinely think is a great Halloween movie and really good, and it's got loads of good stuff in it. And then my hell is going to be Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, the theatrical cut, which is dog shit.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's me.
Simon?
Any questions?
Well, I thought he might do this. So, obviously the original is the best, but to have a alternative heaven for me would be Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Interesting. Yeah,
I do really like that film, and it's a shame it wasn't a success because, you know, I'd like to see more of it being an anthology of seeing different takes of stories that take place in Halloween. But, you know, I do enjoy the Michael Myers films, and, you know, there's a lot of fun to be had in them. But Hell, I would go with 6. 6, it's just there's nothing in it. I mean, at least with Resurrection, you've got Busta Rhymes, you know.
This is until you see the producer's cut someday, right, Simon?
Yeah, so the theatrical cut of 6, because it is an absolute mess.
When I saw the producer's cut properly for the first time, like outside of the bootleg one that I had, when I finally watched it properly, I was like, I jumped out of my seat, just like really panicking that this great film had been shelved. I was just like, see, I can't believe this.
I'm really annoyed now because that's the only alternative version of the entire series that I've not seen, and that's because the only way it's ever been available is in that deleted box set that you have. So apart from the bootleg stuff that you talked about, which I don't do. So,
yeah. Well, it's I've got to be honest, it's the only bootleg thing I've ever bought in my life.
Yeah, you covered that one.
But I couldn't help it.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so my heaven, obviously, is Halloween 1978 and or John Carpenter's Halloween, simply because not only is that sort of one of my favourite horror films, but it's one of my favourite films ever, you know, period. So it's definitely in that list of special films for me that has a special place in my heart, and definitely my favourite horror film.
Yeah.
And I am going to say for Hell, I'm going to go with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, because of what we talked about earlier, that's not a great film, and I've got more love for the others, even Resurrection, because it's, you know, it has got Jamie Lee in it, even though they kill her, but you know, it's still got her in there. So, you know, yeah. So that's me. I got to ask though. I know it's yet another question, but the ending of Halloween 2018, like, it was fairly conclusive, but I mean,
no,
where exactly? I actually thought the final shot was kind of odd, actually, because they were all in the back of the pickup truck, very sort of a la Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the end, and then they do that weird close up of the knife in the granddaughter's hand.
Yeah.
And that's where they end it. And I thought, and of course, post credits, you do get the breathing, Michael Myers mask breathing. But I don't know. What do you think? I mean, obviously, if this makes loads of money, of course, there'll be a sequel, right? But where can they go with it? What do you think?
It's funny you picked up on that shot, because the shot I picked up on was the fact that you saw him in the basement and it's on fire, and then you didn't see him.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah,
it's all over again.
Yeah, they've left it a little ambiguous, so if they need to bring him back, they can.
The reports I've read is that there could be another one as early as next Halloween.
Wow.
Danny McBride and I forget the name of the other writer are not involved. David Gordon Green is likely not involved.
Yeah.
But it will be a Blumhouse. And the other suggestion, I think, came from Neil Blum himself, was that this is the start of a trilogy.
This is, you know, it's going to.
That's what they all say now, isn't it?
Well,
it's going to come out one a year.
Well, that's what they said about Scream 4, and I was furious because I never got Scream 5, and then we lost poor Wes Craven. So. Although I liked the TV series, you know.
Oh, I did. Yes. Funny you said that. I'm actually a fan of the Scream TV series. I know that's a whole nother podcast, as I always say on this, but yes, I like that as well.
Do you know that it is coming back imminently, and the proper Ghostface mask and voice is returning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I must admit, I've liked what they've done with that, but that's a whole nother conversation that we better not do here.
I think you guys are right, because this film has made a lot of money. It's actually the second biggest opening for around Halloween.
Yeah.
And so, they're looking for something to replace the Saw and the other one. They had there for a while. Sorry, it skipped my mind. I didn't watch those films.
Conjuring?
Sorry?
Conjuring?
No, not the Conjuring. I enjoy the Conjuring, actually.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the, we'll set a camera up in a room and just...
Paranormal Activity, yeah.
That's the one, yeah. Yeah. They're looking for that new series that they can have come out every Halloween.
I'm very thrilled that how much money it's made from a perspective of someone who's trying to raise money at the moment to make a slasher movie with some retro sensibility. So it feels like, okay, there is a taste for it, perhaps. Because I feel like the slasher itself is not really booming right now, but this could change things. Obviously, it's its own beast as well. But if there's money to be found for slasher movies, that's definitely feels good to me. So
the resurgence of the slasher, yes,
I
indeed.
hope so, yeah.
But it's funny with all these properties and getting films out and getting them out quickly and stuff. It's like, to me, I still think it's weird that we're not that we've already seen Solo, and that's not going to be a film coming out next month. I still think that's weird.
Yeah. It's strange not to have a Star Wars film coming out for Christmas.
It's weird what they're doing. But anywho, that's the Halloween franchise, which I think we've dissected. Are you happy, Al? I know this was one you were really keen to guest on with us. Have you said things that you wanted to say? Yeah,
I'm absolutely over the moon. I mean, I'm sure I've been incredibly boring, but no, it was really great. I really appreciate just getting to chat with people who like Halloween movies. Great.
Oh, love Halloween movies.
Yeah.
And we always give our guests the opportunity to either promote something that you're involved in, or alternatively, give details of where people can find your work or look you up should they wish to. Is that something you want to share with social media?
Yeah, lovely. I don't do loads of social media. I'm on Instagram as Senor Turtle. A lot of it is pictures of my cats and Michael Myers masks at the moment. I guess some of the films that we've made are on turtlecanyonfilms.com. And actually, one of the things I am working on individually right now is a new podcast called If You're Happy, Do You Know It? Which both of you would be very welcome as guests on as well, of course.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
And it launches, the very first episode is coming out on November the 1st, and it'll be a weekly podcast. It's got basically nothing to do with movies at all. It's very much about the concept of happiness and what it means to different people. It's something that interests me a lot from a kind of psychological standpoint. And I've just had a lot of different friends on who've got really different and unique takes on that whole thing. So looking forward to launching that, seeing if anyone listens, really.
What about if your happiness is movies?
That is more than welcome. It's one of the ones that recurs for me, obviously. So, everyone is welcome to come on, because I think everyone's got a unique take on it. And also it's unsolvable, because you can't really quantify what happiness really is.
Yes.
So, yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.
Very true.
Excellent. And Keith, where can people find out more about your work?
Well, if you want to see any short films that I've made, if you go to YouTube and put in British Eyles, that's EYLES, as in my last name, there are some short films on there that I've written, produced and directed that you can watch. Also, I have to promote at the moment as well. If you put into YouTube Rebecca Gold web series,
great show.
There is there you go. There is a 5-part web series directed by Ian David Diaz, which I have a role in. And this web series stars the wonderful Katie Sheridan, who I believe you know as well, right, Alistar?
I do, yeah. She was here
we talked about that, didn't we?
I think she was here 2 days ago, actually, or yeah, a couple of days ago. She was on the other podcast that I've just mentioned. So all these links, yeah.
Everything is so connected.
I know,
this world.
right? Yeah.
There you go. So yes, and any other credits, there are some listed on IMDb under my name.
And as always, you can find my work at independentrunnings.com. And also, as it's Halloween, why not check out my feature film Blood and Roses? It's on Amazon. You can watch it in the US, UK, Germany and Japan.
Amazing.
Wow, there you go.
So if you've got Amazon Prime, it's free to watch. Otherwise, you can get it as a rental, or you can even buy it. You can buy it on DVD from the US. So if you're looking for something a little different this Halloween, check out my film. And you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and all good podcast providers. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Movie Heaven, Movie Hell. And please leave us a rating and review on iTunes and Stitcher. It all helps. So that just leaves me to thank our guests for coming on and talking all things Halloween.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It was great. Happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
And do join us for the next episode of Movie Heaven, Movie Hell.